A big part of what makes live workshops and courses so rewarding are people's diverse backgrounds, ideas, career paths, experience and perspectives. But this can also make our design and delivery feel kind of challenging. How do we design a session for an audience with very different levels of skills and experience? And how do we plan ahead when we're not even sure who's going to be in the room? In this video, I'm going to show a few ways you can run a live workshop or class or course for people with a variety of skills and experience in your topic. Lovely. My name's Howard, and if you're new to the channel, this is a place for you to discover ways to see, learn, and do differently, especially when it comes to creating more engaging spaces for other people to learn new things. If you're into this video, go ahead and hit the like or subscribe buttons, or even both. It's just one more click after all. I don't see why, you wouldn't put the extra effort in, honestly. This video is part of our Q&A series, bite-sized videos where I answer your questions on designing and delivering live learning experiences. If you have a question, then just drop me a line. Go ahead. Today's question comes from Richard. And Richard's question is, how do I adjust when I'm teaching at a convention where the audience may have different skill levels? This is a great question. This can be a big frustration for attendees who feel the material is maybe too basic or way too complex. And it's of course a tricky challenge for us as creators. So here are 7 ways we can tackle this. Let's get into it. Okay, number 1 is to validate your assumptions. Like it or not, we all make assumptions. Now, part of our work as workshop and course creators is to blend both art and science. And validating our assumptions around our audience is a key part of the science bit. Now, we may think everyone's at the same level when they're not, or that the range of experience in the room is actually broader than it really is. So, a few ways to validate assumptions. First, we can run a quick pre-session survey. It only needs to be a few questions, but a well-designed survey can remove all sorts of uncertainty and confusion and also surface some insights we'd otherwise miss. If you want access to a free survey template, by the way, then check out the links in the video description. You can go grab one. Second, on assumptions. If, like Richard, you're running a session at a conference or a convention, then talk to the organisers of the event. Most savvy organisers know their audiences really, really well. And besides, there's a reason they've asked you to be there. So it's likely they'll be able to give you some good insider knowledge on the audience. They're going to tell you who they expect to attend, what's bringing them there, why they're showing up. Third, you can talk to other presenters and facilitators, whether for this event, previous edition, or even ones before. What was their experience like? What worked for them? What didn't? What surprised them? What about the audience worked well? What were they not expecting? Now, there are a bunch of other ways we can validate our assumptions about our audience and the session itself, but just getting qualitative input from the audience and organisers can go a long, long way. You want to do whatever you can to get a good feeling for who's going to be in the room. Number 2, it's time to get your outcomes down. Now, it's hard to overstate how important this is. These short little verb-driven sentences, they don't look like much, but learning outcomes are the foundations of every good course or workshop. Trust me. They help guide and inform all the jazzy interactive stuff we may want to run during our session. They ensure that the workshop or course itself doesn't wander too far from where it's supposed to go. And they also make it clear to people what they're going to get and why they should show up. So using our outcomes can be really powerful. By first spending time getting your outcomes really clear, and secondly putting them front and center, you can attract people to your session, but also ward them off. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, because no workshop's going to be for everyone, and that's okay. If you want to avoid making the session appeal too narrow though, here's something you can do. You can also include a couple of skill or experience-based who's it for kind of personas in your marketing copy and link those personas to the outcomes. So for example, your session may be for beginner music critics who are looking to write their first short album review. Also, it could be for established writers who want to apply some new narrative styles to their work. 2 different personas tied to 2 different outcomes. But with some smart design, we could definitely deliver for both these groups within the same workshop session at a conference or convention of some kind. Time for number 3, design with plan B in mind. Now, when you're designing a course or a workshop, in fact, when you're designing pretty much anything, it pays to have a plan B in place. If you do end up lacking good information about who's in the room, and maybe if your assumptions are a little off base, plan B can come to your rescue. Plan B could be as simple as having a different version of a hands-on activity. More on those in a minute. Or simply having more ways to explain a concept. Plan B gives you flexibility and adaptability, just what we need when we're in a live setting. So having a plan B can be really, really valuable. Another handy way to help you figure out where you may need a plan B is to actually design your session in reverse. I'll be putting a video out dedicated to that concept very, very soon. But perhaps the best way to summarize this tip is from a quote by the great philosopher Mike Tyson. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face, upon which you probably need a plan B. Number 444 is to use pre-materials. Now, you may want to send some materials to attendees in advance. An intro to the session, some templates, maybe a model or framework of some kind, perhaps some video content, whatever you like. Sending this in advance can help get people primed, can help them build confidence, and help them build knowledge before they join your live session, so you're less likely to have big deviations in knowledge among your group. However, while pre-materials can be great for book kind of knowledge, they're less likely to be able to compensate for skill-based gaps. Also, always assume people won't read and watch stuff, so you shouldn't really rely on this method alone. There's those assumptions again. Think of this tip as more of a bonus, something to help those most excited about the session to dive in, and also a good way to show that you are a pro. A better bet to help everyone in attendance is, in fact, tip number 5, coming up next. We've done 4, we've got 3 to go, but first, drop a like on this video if you're already here. Subscribe to the channel for the new stuff as it drops as well. And finally, let me know about your workshop topics and audiences in the comments. I would love to hear what you're working on. Number 5 is multi-tiered or self-select exercises. You can create activities and exercises that are either multi-tiered or self-select. Now, what do I mean by these terms? Let's take multi-tiered first. Multi-tiered exercises have more than one endpoint. They may have stretch tasks or additional levels of complexity within them. Here's the exercise. If you manage to finish the main exercise, then here's something else for you to work on for the remainder of the time. For example, if the exercise is designing the layout for a web page, a stretch task could be adding some animation to the logo you've created or customizing some of the fonts that are on the page. Simple as that. Self-select, meanwhile, is pretty much as you'd expect. Give attendees a few different options to choose from, lightly geared towards different levels of experience and skill. What's different here is the exercise or scenario itself that they're choosing from is going to be different, rather than just a level of difficulty within one exercise like multi-tier. Yes, this does mean a little bit more design on our part, but a much higher chance of positive outcomes, which is nice. Okay, tip number 6 in this series of 7 moves us out of our design phase and into our delivery. Tip number 6 is use your introduction. Now, your personal introduction is possibly the most underrated part of any course or workshop. Nail it and you can build trust, connection, and goodwill. Bomb it and, well, the opposite probably will happen. Not good. In your intro, you can address unspoken objections or confusion points people may have. You can get a quick show of hands on levels of understanding in the room, and even pick out where you may have to adjust things later on. All from your introduction, yes, really. This requires a deft little bit of body language and facilitation skills. For more on this, check out my video on how to introduce yourself. Something else you may be able to tease out from your workshop intro is discovering who the experts in the room are, which leads us onto our 7th and final tip, the experts. Okay, sometimes you'll find everyone is at a similar level of knowledge and skill in your topic. Other times though, there'll be a mix, including some experts, whether they're bona fide experts or just self-proclaimed experts. Remember, knowing can be the enemy of learning. You've got to watch out for those self-proclaimed experts. That's another story though. Here are a couple of things you can do when you have some experts in the room. First, you can make them part of the session. Invite their opinions, ask for their thoughts, get their perspectives, bring them in. This broadens the discussion, will help you get better, will probably make your session better, and also, little jiu-jitsu move, will probably lower their guard so they're less likely to be frowning with their arms folded. Obviously, some smart facilitation is needed here to avoid getting overrun. but I'm sure you got it down. And I'll do another video on that in the future. Another thing you can do is disperse them. No, not dispense of them, that's something different. Disperse them, distribute them. For example, you may want to run a pair exercise where the experts work with novices. They could take on the role of a guide or a coach. Or you could add the experts evenly into mixed skill level groups. If you're running a longer session, you can even employ experts as judges for an exercise. Just be sure to carefully brief them in advance so you get the results you're looking for. There's lots we can do with experts. Instead of lowering the level, it can actually amplify the experience for everybody. So that's the last of our magnificent 7 tips, bringing in the experts. So those are a few ways to design and deliver a live workshop or class to suit a range of audience skill and experience levels. To get loads more like this, jump over to our website, wavetable.net, and you can also subscribe to the channel right here to get fresh videos straight out of the oven. Toasty. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.